Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 9, Chapter 24. Exercise in Futility. Cultivate comradeship with the good. Develop compassion for the distress. Foster feelings of elation at the happy and prosperous, and deepen indifference towards the evil-minded. This is the ancient, well-tried prescription for a calm and peaceful life. God will bless such men and award them grace. The name of God, when uttered with sincere joy, has great influence on the mind of man. It is like moonlight for the waves of the inner ocean. For it is God echoing from within, as well as the call of God from without. But behold the fascination exerted by science, which deals with the objective world, things and events that can be measured, weighed, or calculated using discernible categories of thought. This has led man into the dreary wastes in search of joy. Chandramouli Shastri was telling you now about the mantras which, when repeated in faith and with full knowledge of implication, can endow you with mysterious experiences of the divine. That is to say, the mantra enables you to be in the proximity of the divine, that is drawn near by the potency of the formula when charged with your own mental current. What is mantra? Man, manana, continued reflection on latent meanings. Tra, trana, the act of saving, of enabling one to cross over sorrow. What are the conditions under which the mind can charge the mantra with the required potency? The first and foremost one is one-pointedness. Now the mind is a very poor instrument, for it is blunt. It runs after too many objects and objectives. The moment you persuade it to fix its attention on God, it wanders into the cinema hall, the bazaar, the card room of your club, etc. It will seldom agree to dwell on the vast magnificence of the divine when you direct it to the divine. It will behave as if you are inviting it to face the deluge or to counter the horrors of hell. Faith in divinity is essential to dwell upon God. The faith in divinity, which is essential for any exercise to dwell upon Him, is absent. That faith can come only slowly, by association with the godly, by reading the lives and experiences of godly persons, and by gaining experience oneself. Nama Sankirtan, singing of God's names, induces faith very quickly. In the beginning, the name has to be recited willy-nilly as a routine. Later, the taste will draw you into the habit. The recitation will yield unfailing joy. We speak of the lotus of the heart. Why? Because the lotus grows up in and from water and blooms in the sun. The heart too draws sustenance from bhakti, devotion, and blooms through jnana, wisdom. Most of the names of the divine have but 2 letters or syllables. The significance of the number 2, Rama, Krishna, Hara, Hari, Datta, Shakti, Kali, etc., is that the first syllable represents Agni, fire principle, which burns up accumulated demerit or sin. And the second represents the Amrita principle, the restorative, the refreshing, the reformation force. The 2 processes are necessary, removal of obstructions and construction of the structure. Krishna, the Lord, was fostered by Yashoda, but she did not know where he was born. He was loved and treated as if he were her own son, that is to say, her love was pure and unaffected by selfish considerations, The parable is to be understood thus. Born in the region of the navel, the divine vitality was later preserved and developed on the tongue. In Gokula by Nanda and Yashoda by constant repetition of the name. The Rama principle is the principle of love that descended from heaven as the gift of the gods. As a result of a great sacrifice, Rama means delight. Nothing delights more than one's own innate self. And so Rama is known as Atma Rama. How then could Bharata accept to usurp the throne of which Rama is the rightful heir? He and Shatrugna were at the Kekaya capital when Rama was exiled, and Dasharatha died heartbroken at the separation. News was sent to him, and when he entered the palace, unaware of the double tragedy that had cast its gloom over the city, he sensed some calamity. Vashishta, the family preceptor, advised him to ascend to the throne, for the empire was suffering an interregnum. Bharata's example of love for Rama, the Lord. Bharata appealed that he will be allowed to go to, quote, the God of my prayers, the Lord who receives the homage of my unceasing adoration. Vashishta told him that it was his father's command and his preceptor's counsel that he sit enthroned as ruler. Bharata replied that the request was proof of the extreme hatred that the parents, the people, the preceptor, and everyone in Ayodhya had towards him, for, had they loved him, they would not have pressed him to do such a mean sin. Bharata stood before sage Vashishta with folded palms. He prayed, "Is it just, is it fair that you should burden me with the sovereignty over a kingdom which slew my father, widowed my mother, exiled my dearest brother whom I value more than my very breath, to the demon-ridden jungle, with his dearly beloved queen, and which finally brought indelible disgrace on my mother. My empire is the realm which Rama rules over, namely my heart, which is too small to contain his glory. Bharata's name itself signifies that he is saturated with love of Rama. Bha means Bhagawan, the Lord Rama. Rata means pleased by, happy over, attached to. Education has hardened the human heart. Let the love for the Lord grow in you, as it did in Bharata. Let that sense of adoration, which discarded even a throne, flourish in you. Then you can be of great use to your country, your cults, your society, your religion, and your community. Or else, all this bother that you have undergone to attend satsang, to listen to spiritual discourses, to meet spiritual masters, study spiritual texts, etc., will be a colossal exercise in futility. The system of education laying emphasis on literacy, skills, conformity, and material progress has hardened the human heart into another weapon in the stock of military hardware. His intellect has been blunted by constant iteration of lies. Awe and reverence which fed the holy emotions in man have been condemned as outdated. Holy men, holy places and rivers are ridiculed. India, which was for ages the playground of the gods and the nursery of saints and the guru of mankind, has now become a beggar at the doors of the very people who clamour for Vedantic light. Know the splendor of that light and fly onto it as high as your wings can lift you. The wings of bhakti and shraddha, devotion and steadfastness. The Shastri said that it is an impossible task, the description of the miracles of Swami. How can anyone describe unless he understands the mystery? How can a man on the shore calculate the waves of the sea? He can never count the total. For him, the wave with which he began his count is the first, and the wave with which he left off count is the last. Listen, ruminate, and follow the advice. That is enough sadhana for you. The first and foremost of my directions is revere your parents, especially the mother. There was once a place which was hit by a hurricane so wildly that all the houses were razed to the ground. The people had nothing to eat and nowhere to lay their heads. Among the worst hit were a mother and her 2 sons. The elder boy was a gem of virtue. He felt responsible for the safety and care of the family, for he loved his mother and sought to win her love and blessings more than anything else. A true devotee must first revere his mother. You speak of Bharata Mata, the motherland. Every mother is of the same breath, of the same lineage. The mother with the younger child was going out begging and keeping alive on the little they could get from the famine-stricken land. Soon she found that she was too weak even to walk a few steps, and so the elder son had to go begging all alone to feed the family. He fell at her feet and said that he would do what she was doing and collect food for all. He wanted that she should not overexert and worsen her health. How could they live on mere handfuls? The son too was rendered weak. With faint voice and fainter steps, he moved towards a zamindar's house and called out for a morsel. The lady of the house called him in and led him before a leaf, whereon she served him some food. But he tottered into an upright position and fell plump on the floor. The zamindar came running into the room and placed his ear near the dying boy's mouth so that he could catch the last words that emerged from his lips. The boy was saying, "No, no, first she must be given food. My turn comes next. You may be able to pay back any debt, but the debt you owe your mother you can never repay. Those who claim to be devotees of God must have this credential. They must revere the mother." Prashanti Nilayam, October 16th, 1969. Bhakti or devotion to God is not to be judged or measured by rosaries or candles, daublings on the forehead, or matted hair or jingles on the ankles. Purity of motives and intentions is essential so that prema, which is the one component of bhakti, does not leak out of the heart. Sri Sathya Sai Baba.